Hey there, Mavericks! Laura Marscano, your Networking Maverick here. Thank you so much for being part of the Networking Maverick community. Today, I'm so excited to bring you our first recording with a networking maven, Helen Vella Basilone. She's a Mindset and Transformational Specialist, and I'm all about the mindset. Y'all know that I'm all about that positive mental attitude, and so is she. She's written several books about how mindset affects so much of how you act, interact, and react with your entire world around you. And it's so important, not just in life, but also in networking. And that's why when I asked her, how did networking, she went from Neurolinguistic Programming and discussing these, tapping and growing rich and dealing with emotions. But how does networking fit in? Well, when I asked her, she said, really, it's all about building relationships, and your mindset matters so much, maybe the most important thing. So that's how you can network like a pro, is if you have the right mindset. She's an amazing person, a wonderful resource. I skipped through the intro. We sat down, had an amazing conversation, but it was very, very long. So I wanted to cut straight to the meat and potatoes of the interview, which is why I'm just giving a brief summary right now. I hope you enjoy our first networking maven, Helen Vella Basilone. And the first question is, how do you train someone to be present in the moment?
Having the strategy. So your strategy before you leave is, I'm going to this event. What do I want to get from this event? Am I going to build up my sphere of influence, or am I going to build up my referral source? Usually I advise to have like 3 things that you want to do. If you're a realtor and you want to build up your sphere, then you might want to speak to a mortgage broker, a title company, and a property developer.
Great, yeah, so, great referral sources for them. Yeah.
Exactly, so you go in and that's who you're looking for. So you don't go in there to speak to 100 people, because it's not going to happen.
It's not going to work.
So it's more to do with having the actual thought process written down before you go out. So there is a strategy to working the room. And you mentioned the body language, but the first thing is your energy. So if your energy is off...
And that's like mindset too, right? That's all.
Well, it's
a little bit, like if you're in the wrong mental space, you're not going to have good energy.
Exactly. Because you go into a room, you've done it yourself, okay? You go into a room and you go, oh, I don't like that person. Or you go into the room and you go, oh my God, that person looks great, I've got to meet them.
Yeah, oh yeah, the magnetic person.
Right,
like, oh.
But that's energy, that's not body language, it's
that's
energy.
True.
So your energy is the first thing. So you got to check in, am I feeling good, am I feeling the right way, what do I need to do, before you walk into the room. So if you're really taking your business seriously, then you take your networking very seriously. Because I always teach, the networking dollars that you're spending, you have to look at a networking event will take between 3 and 4 hours. If your hourly rate is around about $100, because it's easier for the math, right? $100 an hour, that's $300 to $400 you're paying for your ad, plus your travel time, plus your gas, plus your membership, plus your lunch, plus your dinner, whatever event you're going to.
Plus your energy. Just your energy
Absolutely.
That you just spent, yeah.
So if you're going to spend $400 to go out and network, you've got to have a strategy. Otherwise, look at all that time you're wasting and all that money.
I completely strategy.
Absolutely.
I feel like we've said it maybe 3 or 4 times, 5 times.
Yes.
And I can't say it enough. The planning, the preparation,
yes,
I think is a common theme that we're seeing. And I think that it's not just planning the strategy, it's planning your mental state, it's planning, making sure you're checking in with yourself, making sure, okay, I'm going to make the connections today, I'm not in a bad energy. And
you're wearing the right shoes, you feel comfortable.
The outfits, everything
yes,
matters. It's a very cohesive package that you need to be on that day. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about your story, and I think that's always something, the reason why you do you've heard it. What's your why?
Yes.
So I'd like to hear more about that.
So I grew up in Scotland with a very abusive parent, and I'm one of 6. I'm the eldest. So
big family.
Yes.
The protector then, really.
Yes, and I would help protect the other kids. Then when I was a teenager, we moved to London. And in London, if you've ever watched The Outlander,
Oh,
okay, well, that's where I'm from.
really?
And that's how I sounded. So you move to London with that sort of accent, they can't understand a word you're saying. So consequently, I lived in the East End of London. So I deliberately lost my Scottish accent so I could fit in. Because you do this because you don't want to be bullied.
Exactly.
I was bullied at school, all this sort of thing, and made fun of because I came from a very working class, lower working class. So consequently wasn't dressed the same as other people and things like that.
The standing out.
Exactly. But the thing is, okay, so I'll get back to that. So then I moved to London, and then I got married early. Like all my brothers and sisters, we all got married by the time we were 18. So
Wow, that's so young nowadays.
it is, but in those days at 18 you could leave home.
Yeah.
So you
Just
have
each other.
you have to then be able to adapt and develop and do your thing. So yeah, networking, although we weren't going to networking events, but you're networking, finding out where's the best jobs, where's the best place to live. So you're researching
little
and
bit of
finding
networking, right.
and having strategy. Every
Everything's
time you have a
strategy.
conversation, you should be networking. If you notice my book, Negative to Positive, which is about my childhood, I dedicate the book to my mother, who was the abuser, because if she hadn't done what she did, I wouldn't have been the person that I am today, because I was determined never to be like her, and I was determined to be completely the opposite. So I strive to be the person she wasn't. And so now, and people comment on all the time, I'm the one that's always matched. I'm always dressed because I was always bullied for the clothes I wore. So it can make you, not always, because sometimes people, the model that you see is the model they become. Right. The model that I saw, I didn't like, and I became completely different. So depending on your model, depends what you do, but I changed, and it made me a stronger person and helped me help others, which is why I do what I do. So with my knowledge of my own experiences and the experiences of my clients, that's why I love how I do things and empower. But my main thing is to empower.
Yeah. Well, I think that a lot of people can really relate to, especially women. I would say a lot of women can relate to having to overcome some type of abuse, whether it's sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse,
emotional,
and sometimes emotional is even worse.
Yeah,
right?
It is,
because you don't even know, right?
Yeah,
it's just in the background, and how much our parents can affect, and children around us when we're young in these formative stages. And I think that is something that a lot of people don't deal with as they get older. And from what I know about what you do, that's exactly what you're trying to target.
Exactly.
Because you don't know what you don't know, but then you help bring it to the surface.
Absolutely.
And then once it's revealed, right? Yeah. Once you see the underneath, then you can clear it up, because it's hard to clear up something you don't even know is there.
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about how tapping is utilized as a strategy, and we're not talking about tap dancing here. So just for people that aren't familiar with it, we're talking about tapping, where you're actually tapping. Yes. So give us a little bit of background on that entire. Summarize it. I know it's extremely in depth, but.
Well, it's I've learned over the years how to do it simply.
Okay.
It's
Perfect.
Emotional freedom techniques. So emotional freedom techniques, and it's an ancient Chinese art of 5000 BC, and it's acupuncture without the needles, because acupuncture works on your meridians, and EFT tapping, whatever you want to call it, is called by tapping, EFT, and emotional freedom techniques, 3 different things. Also works on your meridians. And the premise is that all unresolved negative emotions are trapped in your meridian system, and your meridians run through your body. So what you do is, from a positive mindset person, you do the total opposite. You focus on the negative while you tap. And focusing on the negative emotion, the fear, the anxiety, the guilt, all that sort of thing, you focus in on it, you get that emotion, you tap on your points, and you release it. So therefore the blockage becomes clear, and you no longer have that emotion attached to that memory. So if you have an emotion of fear attached to flying, then
I do. I cannot. I'm so scared to fly.
it's a
So
big
I got to
one.
use this technique for that.
it's
I fly all the time.
right. It's a big one. So you get into that fear place, and you tap, and then now you still have the memory, but you don't have the emotion that goes with it. So, and I tap every single day, have been for
Really?
30 something years. Yes.
Like whenever something negative is
road
coming
rage, you know.
Well, that's especially in Miami.
Exactly. You know, so I've got to be tapping because this idiot hasn't put their blinkers on, you know.
Yeah.
So because we live in a stressful world.
It's so true.
Everything that we do becomes stressful today, and everything is immediate, and everything's got so much going on. So it's part of my morning routine, and then it's something I do during the day if something happens. And
Like check in with yourself kind of throughout the day.
and I teach every single client EFT, and I ask every single client to teach a child,
Wow.
right? And I teach children as well. And in fact, my grandkids do it, and they've been doing it since they were born. And they're 17 and 12 now, right?
Wow.
But when
Still kids a little bit. They're not officially an adult yet.
but when it makes me feel old though. When my granddaughter was 6 or 7, her and I actually did a class with 6, 7, 8-year-olds, and she taught the class.
How phenomenal.
Oh, it's amazing. It's an amazing tool.
That even a 6-year-old can really understand it, grasp the techniques.
Absolutely.
Maybe they don't understand 100%.
No, but they know they feel better afterwards.
Yeah, because it's all about emotions. And even children can relate to
Exactly.
an emotion.
Yeah.
Wow. And so how did you come across this? I'm assuming this isn't, for me, I didn't come across it until
It's a
recently.
funny story.
Yeah.
It's a funny story.
Then I can't wait to hear.
So I'm doing my NLP Master Practitioner training.
Okay.
And one of the girls in the class, we took a break and we went outside, and there were a lot of birds, and they were all flying around, and she had this panic attack. So this other woman came along, and she's going like this to her. And afterwards, she went, oh my God, because the birds were still there. And she went, what have you just done to me? I feel great. And that's when she told me and this girl about EFT. And immediately I signed up and went, I got to know about this stuff, because it goes perfectly with NLP,
Of course.
and EFT. So you use it together, and it's amazing.
I didn't really see anyone else doing all three of those things online. So are you one of the kind of pioneers of combining those techniques?
There's in the UK and in Australia, they combine the techniques. Usually, the linguistic part of NLP along with the emotional part of EFT go very well together, because we're working on the emotions, but we're also working on the model that your program has got.
Right.
Okay. So if people do NLP and EFT together, it's amazing. But there are NLP practitioners that don't do EFT, and there's EFT that don't do NLP.
Well, I'm sure. Right.
But the two together, and although the two guys that founded NLP and the one guy that made EFT public are all American, it's bigger in Australia and Europe.
And I wonder why that. Do you have
I don't know.
a theory on that?
They all moved to Europe, and they teach more in Europe.
Does that mean Europeans are more in touch with their emotions than Americans? I don't know.
I'm not answering.
I don't know. I'm trying to get her in trouble now. I'm essentially trying to get you in trouble online.
No. If you mention EFT or NLP in Europe, they know exactly what you're talking about. Here,
not a lot of people did. I've brought it up to several people since meeting you, and a lot of them I've heard of tapping maybe, but not the neurolinguistic programming portion of it with EFT.
Yeah.
And I think that entire area is something that is just ripe for networking. It's something ripe for people to utilize in building businesses, especially entrepreneurs. How stressful is it to launch a business, to take a risk? So I think that's, as a lawyer, lawyers could use it. We had a big push for mindfulness, which is very similar, where you have to realize the spiral you're going into and try to change your emotional attachment. But I've never really.
You can only
heard all
change
three
your
of them.
emotional attachment if you get rid of the negative emotion that you're attaching.
Exactly.
Right. And that's the missing component with all this mindfulness
part.
Yes. Right. So because you do get people that say, yeah, that's easy to say.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I'll just change it.
Yes.
It's fine.
Yeah. Really. But there are people that can. People will come along and say, you know, I've been smoking for 20 years and my daughter was born and I stopped.
Cold turkey.
Yes,
Right,
and they
buffer.
didn't have any, you know, people that drink coffee and they stop. There are people that do that. So it's not...
I'll never stop. I'm committing.
It's not everyone, but you know, for people that are really coming from a place of limiting belief and negativity, then they're saying when we're talking, yeah, really?
Right. That's the skepticism, the
Yes.
cynical side of that.
Yes, but there are ways to overcome that because what's underneath the iceberg?
Of course. And that's how you help people and
Yes.
empower them.
Yes.
But it wasn't always, I'm assuming, sunshine and rainbows. You didn't just all of a sudden become a successful person with zero challenges,
No.
right? We all have to go through them. And I don't like to call them failures because I like to think of them as teaching moments where you learn something. But I think many people would say failures or concerns or challenges. So what was the biggest challenge you've had to overcome professionally, I would say, in building this business, and how did you really overcome that?
Moving around
Yeah,
because you have
big
to
one.
restart again, and having people understand that there are other things than pills to help you get healthier, a healthier mind, body, and spirit, soul, whatever you want to call it. So trying to put into language that would be beneficial for me to get business from people that thought I was coming from La La Land. So I changed my model.
Right, into the woo, right?
Yes,
Like, ooh,
exactly.
woo,
Which is why I always say EFT is 5,000 BC. I didn't invent it. It's
Right.
been around 5,000 plus.
a long time.
Right, exactly. It's not new.
It's a history.
And it's not woo-woo.
Right.
So I've changed my model a couple of times. But now I can go. Now over the last couple of years, I've gone back to my original model because
Really?
people are now looking at what can I do other than take medication? What can I do other than so that they're going to the gym more, they're exercising more, they're looking for healthier ways, they're juicing, they're cutting out different things. So people are ready for it now.
That's a very interesting point because I think the perceptions sometimes are one of the biggest obstacles people in multiple fields have to overcome when something sounds different than what you're used to. With medicine, people are getting diagnosed left and right because it's easier.
Right.
And I know personally, coming from a legal profession or a more, I guess, professional profession, there's a ton. I've brought it up in certain circles, and you get the eye rolls, and you get, oh, that's not real medicine, right?
Right.
But I believe I guess maybe I'm more open to it. But how do you really get once you're in there? How do you keep their attention? How do you get past that cynicism? I guess that comes up when you hear it. Because you got in the door by highlighting a different aspect of it.
Right.
But then it's different once you're in there.
Right.
You can see some people just glaze over.
Yes.
Or
And you know that with the experience I have and looking at people's body language, the sensory acuity, all that sort of thing, and you look at and you listen to their words, what they're saying, unconscious words, I can navigate through that. But what happens is there are clients that I've got lots and lots of tools. The NLP box is very large. So, and if the EFT box doesn't need to be open just yet, I can go through another door. So then we work out, and then once they trust and know that they get results, then I can introduce something else because they're willing to try because I'm already trusted and they can see what I do is working. But the NLP thing, you're not necessarily saying, oh, I am doing NLP right now. Right. It's just, okay, let's work on this meta model of, like we've got a model that we put together, like the DISC or the Myers-Briggs. So
the DISC I actually just heard about DISC recently, and Tony Robbins has it on his website and everything.
Right.
It's good for hiring employees.
It is, but
too,
that's strange because Tony Robbins does NLP. But in the NLP, we can do it in 10 questions. Conversation. So you don't have to fill in a form. So what I do is I do that so that they can circumnavigate some of the forms and things so that they can I show them how to ask questions and how to be able to listen to answers, whereby they can put teams together. Because what people tend to do is put like-minded people together. Well, if you're building a team, that's not what you want.
You want diversity. Right?
Yes, and if your team is full of people that like detail, you're never going to get the global picture.
Exactly.
You're never going to get a big wide thing. We're going to be narrowed down here. And if you put someone in IT that sits coding all day, now you promote them to be a manager.
They have no people skills, right? Yeah.
Correct, exactly. So people are learning.
Or not no people skills, but less.
Yes.
Yeah, less.
They don't want
Less
them,
want.
most of them.
The desire is very low.
Yes. So people are becoming more aware of that now. They're becoming more aware of behavior and what people's behavior are. So it's now easier to do this mindset model, the behavior model, and building up people that can work by themselves, because we get a lot of off-site working by yourself, staying
Being
at home,
independent,
being independent, but you're solitary. So
Which they like, which is certain
coders,
personality
yes,
type likes.
things like that. But so you have to be able to see, and a lot more people are aware of that now. So it's easier to be able to talk about the models that we can use, but we don't necessarily say it's an NLP model. We just say this model. So this.
Correct. So
yes.
then I love how you said you have to meta examples, I guess, strategies, meta programming.
Yes.
So you're meta programming, so you're kind of getting in there behind, which is actually a great technique for networking in general. When you're talking with someone, I think you have to think on your feet when you're realizing the body language isn't there. How do you re-engage them? Think about saying it in a different way.
Right.
Getting maybe a little bit under their own iceberg.
Exactly, but if you've got 100 people in the room and someone's hard work, then you don't have to do that there and then. Right. If it's someone you really want to connect with, have a one-on-one. If it's not someone you want to connect with, then move on.
Yeah, don't waste your energy, essentially.
Because time is money.
That's true. That's true. And a lot of people look at networking events. I love how you broke it down more to your hourly expectation plus energy plus time. And I think that's something that you should really think about when you're planning and strategizing. But also, I hear a lot of people that say, oh, I didn't get the ROI from this event, but they're looking at closed business. They're not looking at relationships.
Right.
And I think, I'm assuming you agree, but I think relationships are more of the key nowadays to setting yourself apart in industries in order to build your business. And have you done that? Do you agree with that, or?
Oh, absolutely. You don't get an ROI from an event.
Right.
It's impossible. If you get a client, a customer, or a deal, or sell a product at an event, kudos to you. But that's not what you're there for.
Right.
It's net working. You're casting a net, and then you're going to work it.
Oh, right? I love that. I don't think I've ever heard that before, and I love it. I love that. Yeah. Your net, work it.
Exactly. So you're working your nets that you've cast. So you're going to, your ROI on that event is, I made 3 good contacts that I'm going to follow up and have a one-on-one with.
That's exactly what I say. Oh my goodness. I want to go a little bit more into just what mentoring you received in terms of advice. Because the reason we're doing the Networking Mavens is really to provide e-mentorship for people that aren't necessarily finding those mentors in life. So what's the best piece of advice that you received from, it doesn't have to be a mentor, but I guess it just best piece of advice you heard over your developing your business and everything?
2 things. One of my bosses said to me, listen slowly. Because what people don't do is listen. They're already formulating what they're going to say next, or talking over someone. So that was one. And the other one was, which I've done a lot, is take someone that you admire that has done what you would like to do, or that you think is successful in the field that you want to be successful in, take them to lunch and pick their brains.
So simple.
And that was amazing, but then as I got older, people started doing it to me.
And you're like, what has happened? The tables have turned.
Exactly. I was at a workshop and this girl came over to me who's a great friend. We've been friends for about 12 years. And she went, I want to take you to lunch because I think I need to learn things from you. And that's what I used to do.
And now that's where we are.
Exactly. And one of my mentors was Florrie Roberts.
Really?
Who, do you know who she is?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So
how did you meet her?
At a networking event.
Oh, of course.
And it was a women's networking event, and it was a conference, and there was about 4,000 women there.
Wow.
And successful people like Florrie, big businesswoman, were auctioning off mentorships. So they were raising money for charity.
Oh, how interesting.
And they put themselves down for mentoring. And I won.
Throwing down.
Absolutely.
I want that mentorship.
Exactly.
It's very valuable. I mean,
yes.
You can't really put a price tag on it.
And to be able to call someone like that and they're on your speed dial, hey, what can I do? How am I going to do this or that? It's good. So that's the best piece of advice I got was take someone that you admire to lunch.
Well, I really appreciate you coming in today. I wanted to finish with a question that I'm going to ask every networking maven that comes through, because I think it's an important question in terms of finding places in Miami. You network a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What are your, I mean, you can give me a top 3 or your top 1 places to go network in general for people that they should go try out, and who would it be best for? That networking event or those networking events that you're thinking off the top of your head right now.
You have to go to events consistently.
Mm-hmm.
A one-off event is a one-off event. Unless you're going to work the room with your strategy and do your follow-ups and your one-on-ones. So I would advise joining a chamber or joining a leads group.
What's a leads group for people that don't know what?
A leads group is a group of people that get together every single week or every other week that are not the same industry, so they're not two of anything. So, and they get to know each other through relationships and connections every week so that they can then find people business. So you've technically got everyone in the room is looking for business for you, right?
Almost like a forced referral type networking.
Yeah, it's a good way to build things up, but you should go to places. A lot of people think, oh, I'm seeing the same old people again. That's the whole idea.
Mm-hmm. That's you're building the relationship.
That's the whole idea. So going from place to place to different events, one-offs, is not building relationships. So there isn't an easy answer to that one, because if you're good at networking, you can go to the one-offs. Because you're going to use your strategy and you're going to use your one-on-ones.
And the follow-up, right?
And
the
the
follow-up.
follow-ups.
That's where the proof is in the follow-up.
Exactly.
The wealth
Fortune is in the follow-up.
Fortune, that's it. Fortune
it.
is in the follow-up.
But but I know people that go to leads groups every week and just go to the group and then go home. So
it's what you make of it.
It's what you make of it. But if you join a chamber, or you join a BNI, or you join a prime time, or you join all the different things that you can, then you have you get involved. So you can be an ambassador, you can be the person that does the social media, you can get yourself involved, and once you build relationships up, people get to know you. So like when you go out or when I go out, people know us, so they'll come to us and say, who do you know?
Correct.
Because we work how you're meant to work it. And people then think that they've seen you in all these different places, and technically they haven't.
Right. But things consistently.
But if you do things consistently, because also what I teach is, if you don't show your face, they're going to forget you. Mm-hmm. And the one big mistake people make is, oh, I'm busy, so I don't need to network. So when you're not busy, hey, guess what? You've got to start all over again.
Mm-hmm. That's true, yeah, because they forgot about you.
Exactly. So if you're in the room, you're top of mind. If you're not in the room, you're not top of mind.
Yeah, and that also includes, I mean, I guess at a baseline, social media. We were talking about a little bit before the interview, where I enjoy networking online, making the connections, talking with people, but if you don't have that offline, that FaceTime offline, you're not really solidifying the relationship.
And also the same with social media. It's the same thing. It's not selling. You're still building a relationship. But what happens is people, when they network social media or in person, they continually want to sell.
The always be closing mentality. Right. And I work against that so much. I like the always be connecting. That's what I say instead of the ABC always be closing. I'm like, always be connecting.
Correct. Absolutely. Because of, so an answer to the short answer to the question is do it consistently. Be out there. And you should be running into the same people because you want to build the relationship, yes. But you can't just turn up at an expo or turn up to an after hours or anything like that and expect it to happen. And also what I teach is a breakfast, a lunch, and an after hours are all different types of networking because there's different types of people at each place. And a lot of the after hours can turn into singles clubs. So you have to know where you're going and what you're doing.
True, especially in Miami, I think.
Yes. So you have to know, you have to research the group and see where it is that you're going, or ask someone that knows.
No, why not ask you? So if people wanted to ask and know more about you, where would they go?
My website, hvella.com, my LinkedIn profile, LinkedIn Helen Vella. LinkedIn's very good because it's very professional and your profiles are professional and all your recommendations are on there and everything. And then my email, that's what I'm trying to think of.
Oh, yes, please.
Is helen@hvella.com. You can find me on Instagram. It's
the gram.
Don't even know what it is. Vella Transformational Specialist. And Facebook Vella Coaching.
So many ways to learn more. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to come all the way down. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so
much. I love that we matched a little bit with our blue.
Exactly. See, yes.
And thank you for being
top.
with me. I know. Oh yeah, I didn't even realize that.
Yes,
And the nice little bean.
Exactly.
Great minds think alike. Well, thank you so much for coming down today. You've been a wonderful networking maven, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Until next time, Networking Maverick out. Happy connecting.